Hey guys, Marvin here with Driven by Graphics. I'm working on my Epson printer today, and basically I've had some issues. I've been going through different kind of ink changes a little bit, transitioning from some refillable cartridges in here, and currently utilizing this as my regular desktop printer. And I've been trying to utilize some the authentic Epson ink in here. But right now I'm having an issue with my magenta color. Let me go ahead and print out a nozzle check. So I'm going to go on the front panel. This is a Workforce, this is an older model, 7720. I'm going to go to settings and then maintenance and print nozzle head or print head nozzle check. And I'm going to print that out real quick. I've done some already. I'm just going to print out a new one for the video here and show you that it is an actual live one. I'm not trying to fabricate anything here. And ultimately what I'm getting to is how to go about using my cleaning solution. So hopefully we can see that on the video. I've got good black, good yellow, it's harder to see here in color, and good cyan, but magenta is completely missing there. And so I'm going to show how I go about fixing that utilizing my cleaning solution. So right now I'm showing the pattern here where you can select on the screen if you've got broken lines or straight lines that are good. For now I'm just going to go ahead and click that they're good. Ultimately they're not. Obviously go back to the home screen, and I'm going to show you, this is my cleaning solution that I've got available on my website. I'll link in the video as well, but this is what I'm going to be using. What I've went ahead and done is got some of this poured into a little plastic cup. This is just makes it a little easier for me to end up utilizing. And I went ahead and got my syringes. You can get on the site those with or without syringes, and specifically with the tubing kit as well. And so I've used these in the past, and so I've got them separated into individual Ziploc bags, primarily because that fluid, some of it can drip out, and just to kind of prevent myself from having a mess and you know, being able to reuse them. I do typically have stickers that I provide with the syringes as well, so each one can be marked. And so you can, you know, in my case, I'm kind of particular about utilizing the magenta syringe on it, because there ends up being a little bit of ink that ends up coming into this nozzle a little bit. So just to keep contamination down, I will only use those syringes with each individual color. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the menu here. I'm going to go back to settings and back to maintenance, and in this case I'm going to click the option for ink cartridge replacement. Now I'm not replacing ink, but in terms of the cartridges themselves, when you just open it, hopefully you can see this in the video, when you just open this up on its own, the little lid here basically gets blocked by this far edge of the printer, and you can't open that up, and you know, I'd have to basically force it over. I don't like doing anything like that because it kind of messes with the motors and everything else in there, the gears. So I'm just going to set it back down. I'm going to choose the option for an ink cartridge replacement, and what that does, click the option to start. What it's going to do is just slightly move that the print head carriage over just a little bit. When I open this up, kind of see it moving there. And unfortunately I've got my camera on a tripod, so I don't have a good way to get, you know, an above view, so some of this you'll probably have to take my word on. But you know, kind of see now when I open this up, there's no issue with that door opening right up. Now in this case I'm going to go ahead and replace or pull out the magenta cartridge. And again, I know this is a brand new cartridge I just put in recently, and what had ultimately happened was I ran the prior cartridge out, you know, essentially dry. There's you know, basically empty or air in the line that's just not allowing this new cartridge to flow. So I'm going to attempt to remedy that with some of the cleaning fluid. Now I have done some prior head cleanings and attempted, you know, just a couple of those just to see if I could get it back prior, and that's usually when the cleaning solution kind of comes into play. If you've done a couple of the head cleanings themselves on here, and those, you know, were not successful in getting your lines back, or in this case, you know, there was essentially no ink that was flowing, basically I'm going to take my syringe and hopefully I can get it in there. Sometimes with just a singular cartridge out, sometimes it's difficult to get the hose in here and onto the nozzle that's down there below. And I don't even have a flashlight right now, so hopefully I can get it on. Again, it's kind of dark in some of here, and I've got my camera on a tripod, so some of this, hopefully you can kind of, I'll talk through the video, but I'm going to end up just drawing, you know, a couple milliliters, probably about 1.5 to 2 milliliters of the solution up into the syringe, just a little bit. I don't know if you can see there, it's just like to, you know, down here type level. Try not to drip this all over the place. And ultimately, try to get that hose onto the nozzle that's in here. So essentially there's a little nipple that sticks up, and it looks like I got it. And so that nipple that sticks up basically goes here into the bottom of your printer cartridge. It just sticks up into that cartridge to allow the ink to flow. So what I did is basically took my syringe, I've got the hose attached to it, and the hose is now on top of that little nipple inside the printer. And what I'm going to do is just ever so slowly, you don't want to force this at all, but I'm going to try to push really, really slowly, about a milliliter, 1 to maybe, you know, 1.5 milliliters of the solution just through the print head. And this is ultimately just to try to get some fluid pushed in there and to try to flush, you know, any air or any you know, particles, particulates that may be clogging up the head itself, just to try to get some fluid flowing back through there and push any of that, you know, like I said, out of there. Now I went ahead and done that, pushed a little bit through. Now again, just trying to show, you can see the magenta there, and that's why I try not to contaminate or use different syringes and or hoses on the different colors. So let's see how that works. I'm gonna go ahead and put the magenta cartridge back in. So all I've done at this point is try to flush, you know, about a milliliter of the solution through there. I should have been a little more prepared with a napkin or paper towel, but I'm just gonna slide this whole thing over for now. Let's close this up, close this back. It'll take a moment because it thinks I actually replaced the magenta cartridge, because I told it I was doing a cartridge replacement. I'm gonna try to keep the video where I don't go through and fast forward anything, so this may get a little bit lengthy. Replacement is complete. I'm gonna select OK. And at this point, I want to go ahead and do another nozzle check. I haven't done anything ultimately. There's been no ink that's actually flowed through the printer, or that the printer has attempted to flow through that print head yet. Let's take a minute. Apologize for the dead air in here, but again, I just want to show the full process. You know, not trying to do anything magic special video editing wise to, you know, it's just real world you know, working on the printer and trying to show and demonstrate how the cleaning solution works. So printer's going through its stages. Again, a lot of the times when it does this, it's thinking that cartridge has been replaced, so it goes through some of its own internal cleanings, flushing, so on and so forth to prepare it for printing that nozzle check. Most likely when it prints out, if there's anything, it'll probably be very light in color. That's ideal, and that's because the cleaning solution itself is clear, obviously. And so on the page, if anything comes out, it may be a pinkish color, very light, because of maybe some of the magenta that's there, residual, along with some of the clear fluid itself. Maybe that'll get on the page. See how it goes once it actually prints out here in a moment. That's typical on the first one anyways, and usually I'll run maybe a head cleaning afterwards, 1 or 2, to get some more of that ink to flow, be pulled basically through the print head, and then typically it'll begin printing again. But overall, like you've seen, the process is usually pretty simple. To pull some of the cleaning solution there into the syringe, attach to the nipple that's in there, and then just to, again, slowly, the key there is real slowly to push that through there. There are some very sensitive membranes inside the print head. If you try to force that fluid, or some people do air, which really, you know, concerns me. But you know, you really want to be real careful with that, again, not to damage any of the sensitive components that are inside the print head itself. So still going through its process here. If you've got a workforce, you know, I'm assuming timing wise will probably be about the same. It is possible to do this on some of the EcoTank printers. The difficulty with the EcoTank printers is that typically you can't open the printer so easily. Usually there's some screws that are here up underneath. Because of the tanks and the reservoirs that sit off to the side, there's really no reason typically for you to get inside of the printer. So they basically kind of have the lid on those printers secured a bit. Like I said, usually it's a screw or two that's up underneath here to be able to allow you to open that up. Once you do, typically you'll see the tubing that runs to, in those cases, it's not cartridges, it's dampers that are there that kind of rest on top of the printhead carriage. You can basically remove those dampers off and then typically be able to do the same thing or very similar with the solution to flush that through and utilize, you know, as well. A lot of times with the EcoTanks, though, there's not as common of problems with any sort of clogging, things like that, because of that reservoir and the kind of the constant ink that's available to the printer. Pulling some paper in finally and doing a test print. All right, so in the very first test print after the cleaning solution, we do have magenta back. Now it is a little lighter than normal, and that's because that cleaning solution's in there. But this actually is showing darker here than I had actually expected it to. So let me actually go ahead and run. I'll do one head cleaning. So here I'm going to select that the lines are broken. Technically they're not, but it's going to give me the option then to do a head cleaning. I'm going to select all except black. My black is perfect, so I'm not going to clean those, but that's the only option I have here to clean any of the other colors. Click start, and this begins the typical head cleaning process on your yellow, cyan, and magenta print heads. Again, this will take a moment, a couple minutes. And again, apologize for the added time in the video, but again, just wanting to be thorough here and realistic on what actually happens in the timing here. No cuts in video, nothing special. But you were able to see I went, you know, directly from having no output at all. Let me grab this other print again that's on the bottom of the stack. So while it's going through its cleaning, you know, basically went from no. So as I had mentioned in the video, I attempted to do the whole thing within one take with no cuts or anything in between, but unfortunately my phone ran out of storage and cut me off there. I did go ahead and take a couple of pictures here. The first one showing that first test print right after the fluid and all was flushed, and it shows the lighter magenta coming out there, and then after a singular head cleaning you can see that the magenta is much darker. And then a secondary picture here that shows full progression, which was you know, the beginning with no magenta at all. The secondary print you can see is a little bit lighter of magenta, and that was mainly the cleaning solution itself being flushed through. And then a couple more that were basically followed with a couple of head cleanings there to get the rest of that cleaning solution flushed out and having essentially all of the magenta fluid or ink passing through now. So hopefully that helps to explain and demonstrate how to use the cleaning solution itself. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or reach out to me directly. Thanks. Take care.